My daughter got married without telling me, and her stepdad walked her down the aisle. But now she needs my help because her mom died and her stepdad logged out of life. I'm a 51-year-old man. My daughter is 24. I haven't been in her life since she was about 13, not by choice. Her mother, Carla, made sure of that. We divorced when Maddie was 11, and from that moment on, it was like watching my own daughter turn against me in real time. And there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. When we separated, Carla used every legal trick in the book: full custody, supervised visitation, false accusations about my temper, lies in court, you name it, she did it. I spent 5 years trying to get any kind of contact with my daughter. Birthdays, parties, a few hours on a weekend, I would have settled for anything. But every time I got close, Carla would file a new complaint or stir things up just enough for Maddie to stop talking to me again. I kept showing up for a while. I remember one Christmas vividly. I bought Maddie a necklace and drove to Carla's house just to try and give it to her in person. Not long after, the police were at my door, yet another one of Carla's lies. That was the last time I tried to break through that wall. After that, I stopped fighting a system that had already decided I didn't matter. Carla married a guy named Dennis when Maddie was around 14 or 15. He was a successful contractor, built homes, drove a big truck, loved sports, basically the walking Pinterest version of the ideal dad. From what I heard, he spoiled Maddie: trips, expensive guitars, front row concert tickets. He filled the space I wasn't allowed to occupy. Eventually, Maddie took his last name. I didn't hear it from her, I saw it in a social media post she was tagged in. Her first name followed by Dennis's last name. I moved, got a quiet job, focused on my own life. I stayed completely out of the picture for over a decade. About 2 years ago, someone showed me photos from her wedding posted on her profile. I hadn't seen her in years, and there she was, walking down the aisle with Dennis. The caption read, "Maddie and her dad, finally the big day." Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. I got a text from an unknown number. It just said, "Can we talk?" I ignored it. A day later, another message came, "It's Maddie." Finally, she sent a longer message. She said her mom had died of cancer. Apparently, it had been a long battle. I had no idea she was even sick. She also said Dennis had taken his own life just 1 week after Carla died. She said she didn't know who else to turn to, that she was overwhelmed with funeral plans, legal matters, inheritance issues, and she needed help. She wasn't asking for money, at least not yet, but I had a feeling that was coming. It wasn't an emotional reunion message. It wasn't, "I'm sorry I pushed you away," or, "I want to reconnect." It was purely logistical. "Can you help with the inheritance stuff? Do you know anything about probate? I think some things fall under next of kin laws." After 10 years of hearing directly and indirectly that I didn't exist, that she didn't need me, that I wasn't a father, suddenly she wanted to act like we had some kind of bond? I didn't respond. I didn't block her either. I just left it there. I thought about it every night for a week. I already grieved the loss of my daughter years ago. When I found out she changed her last name. When they sent cops because I tried to give her a necklace. When I saw her pretend I was dead. And now I'm supposed to swoop in and clean up the mess these two left behind? I haven't told her anything yet. I don't know if I will. Part of me just wants to delete the messages and move on like nothing happened. Another part thinks I should at least reply, tell her never to contact me again, and close the chapter on my own terms. So yeah, here I am. The daughter who replaced and erased me is now asking me to help clean up the wreckage of the life she chose. Update 1. After I made the original post, I didn't reply to her messages. I realized that even giving a half-hearted response would turn into way more than I was willing to handle. She's not my family. I don't owe anything here. I thought that would be the end of it. 3 days later, my sister showed up at my house. She didn't come alone. She brought supermarket muffins and a face that said, "We need to have a serious talk." I already knew where this was going. She jumped right in with, "She's still your daughter, and you have no idea what she's been through." I said, "No, I don't. Because that person isn't my daughter. I haven't heard from her in years, all by her and her mother's choice." Apparently, after I didn't respond to Maddie, she started going through her contacts and somehow reached out to my sister. I don't even know how she got the number, maybe it was in her mom's things, who knows. According to my sister, Maddie was on the verge of collapse and completely lost after Dennis's death. She claimed she had no one left. I asked why she didn't reach out to Dennis's family, which seemed more logical than calling me. And here's where things got interesting, and where Maddie's true colors started to show. Turns out Maddie had burned a lot of bridges recently. She wasn't a good person. Carla's family was already distant, but even the ones who showed up when Carla got sick eventually walked away angry. Apparently, Maddie kept Carla's illness a secret until the very end. Carla battled cancer for over a year, and Maddie told no one until the last few weeks. Nobody got to say goodbye. Worse, while Carla was still alive, Maddie sold the grandmother's house behind everyone's back. It had been passed down through 3 generations. Supposedly, it was in Maddie's name, but with a promise not to sell it and to preserve it as a family legacy. She put it up for sale while Carla was in palliative care. I don't know why. But the family went ballistic and cut her off completely. Then there's Dennis's side of the family. This part gets even worse. Dennis had 2 adult children from a previous marriage, and they had been fighting with Maddie for months. They didn't like how Carla and Maddie manipulated Dennis. They said he was isolated in the end and hadn't seen his grandkids in over a year. Tensions had been building even before Carla died, and Dennis's death just made everything explode. Now Dennis's eldest son is threatening to sue Maddie, claiming she manipulated Dennis into making financial decisions while he was emotionally vulnerable. He claims Dennis was trying to change his will to remove Maddie entirely but died before he could file the paperwork. And now Maddie wants to keep everything. So now she's alone. The rest of the family won't talk to her. And now she's reaching out to the one person she publicly erased from her life, me. I asked my sister directly, "If you know all of this, why the hell should I get involved after everything that happened?" Her answer, "Because you're her real father, and I think you're the only one who can help her." I had to laugh at that. Since when? Not when I was in court every month trying to get visitation. Not when Carla filed legal actions against me just for trying to leave gifts. Not when I saw a photo of Dennis walking her down the aisle with the caption calling him her only father. Then my sister started with the usual lines, "Maybe this is your chance to make things right." She was just a kid. She didn't know what she was doing back then. But she's not a kid anymore. She's been an adult for a while now. She made adult choices, cutting people off, hiding major things from the family. Now that her safety net is gone, she's desperate. Let's be honest, she didn't come to me because she missed me. She came to me because she's in over her head and doesn't want to face it alone. When my sister saw I wasn't budging an inch, she got frustrated. She said Maddie was going to fall apart and that I'd regret it if something happened to her. But I can't regret something when, in my head, she's no longer my daughter. After my sister left, I got another message. This time it was a voicemail from Maddie. Her tone had changed, she sounded angry. She said something like, "Fine, stay out of it like you always have. Just know I'm going to tell everyone you let me drown." So we're at that stage now, guilt-tripping me again, painting me as the absent father, as if I haven't already lived that script. I haven't responded. I don't plan to. For now, I've blocked her number, again. If she wants anything from me, she can go through a lawyer, just like her mother used to. I already lost a decade to this girl. I'm not giving her another one just because her life plan went up in flames. Update 2. I thought that after that voicemail and blocking her again, things would quiet down. I figured she'd move on and look for someone else who still felt sorry for her. What I didn't expect was to be dragged into this through the legal back door. About a week and a half after the last time I spoke with my sister, I got a thick envelope in my mailbox. At first, I thought it was junk, one of those fake legal notices meant to scare you into calling a scam number. But it wasn't. As I read through it, I could tell it was real, a formal court subpoena. I was being summoned to testify. Turns out, Dennis's adult sons followed through on their threats. They were suing over his estate, mainly for assets, account access, and a change in the beneficiary of one of his life insurance policies that, interestingly enough, had occurred just 3 weeks before he died. Their attorney filed a lawsuit citing emotional coercion and undue influence. And right in the middle of the documents, was my name. I called my lawyer immediately. We went through everything together. That's when I found out Maddie had submitted a sworn statement saying we'd reconnected in the months leading up to Dennis's death, and that I had helped her emotionally cope with the loss of 2 parental figures. The problem, besides being a complete lie, was that she had dragged me into this legal nightmare, even though I had nothing to do with it. Dennis's sons were suing, and they believed I might have been involved in the shady things Maddie had done. I hadn't spoken to her in over a decade, until she messaged me after Carla died. I had no choice but to respond. My lawyer filed a motion to correct the record and a formal statement denying any involvement. We included screenshots of her messages to me, call logs showing her number was blocked, and proof that I never signed or witnessed anything, nor was I present for any conversations about Dennis, his estate, or any financial matters. Still, that didn't change the fact that my name was in the case now. Since Maddie used me in her defense, the court scheduled a civil deposition and I was subpoenaed to appear. I wasn't a defendant, but now I was a material witness, which meant I had to be involved whether I liked it or not. I showed up for the deposition. Luckily it was virtual, but it was still uncomfortable. Maddie wasn't on camera, but Dennis's 2 sons were. Their lawyer asked direct questions: how long I'd been back in Maddie's life, what kind of role I had played, whether I'd ever spoken with her about Dennis or his mental state, or if she'd ever expressed feeling overwhelmed or needing help. My answers were all the same: I wasn't involved. I didn't offer help. I wasn't there. That's when the real story started to come out. Dennis's sons said they'd been cut off from their father for over a year. Apparently, Maddie and Carla had taken full control of his communication, phone, email, texts, even access to his grandchildren. He said Dennis began acting strangely toward the end. He became withdrawn and paranoid, saying he felt manipulated. He had even spoken with a lawyer to change his will. That's when Carla's condition got worse. According to recovered messages, she accused Dennis of being senile and told him she'd leave him if he tried to sabotage Maddie's future. She even threatened to reveal personal secrets from his past if he went through with the changes. Those changes were never finalized. Dennis died before anything could be submitted. Now Maddie is trying to claim everything, based on a version of events no one else supports. I think she felt alone, because no one is on her side, and hoped I would help her get out of legal trouble. What I don't understand is why she said we had reconnected beforehand. Maybe she used it to intimidate her stepbrothers, I don't know. But now I'm knee-deep in this mess. I've had to take days off work, file paperwork, and spend money, just to clean up a lie I never asked to be part of. I don't feel sorry for her. I feel used. She buried me in her past. And now she's trying to use my name while pocketing money that isn't even hers. I've said everything I needed to under oath. And that's it. Update 3. It's been about 2.5 months since the legal deposition. Since then, nothing. I figured that would be the end of it, at least for me. I did what I had to do. I cleared my name legally. I stayed out of it. I moved on. I didn't expect her to come back, and definitely not like this. I work in logistics for a company. It's a good job for me, suits my skill set, and I've built a solid position there over the years. I keep my personal life private. Mostly because there's not much to say. People at work know I have a daughter I'm not in contact with, but no one digs deeper than that. About a week ago, I was in a morning meeting when I got paged to come down to the front desk. That never happens. I thought it was HR or maybe something about my car in the lot. When I walked into the lobby, I froze. Sitting there with a baby in her arms was Maddie. Before I could say a word, the receptionist smiled and said, "She said she's your daughter and wanted to surprise you." She thought it was sweet, because she didn't know the whole story. Maddie smiled at me and said she brought my granddaughter to meet me. I asked her what she was really doing there. She started talking like everything was fine between us. Said the baby was her daughter, that she'd been trying to sort out her life lately, and thought maybe it was time her child had a real grandfather around. I told her this wasn't the place for any of that and that I needed to get back to work. She didn't flinch, kept trying to talk. I told her again, flat out, I wasn't going to play the family role now, and that she shouldn't come to my workplace ever again. I turned around and went back upstairs. By lunchtime, half the building knew. People started coming up to me asking if she was my daughter, what the story was, if I was really a grandfather now. One guy even made a joke about how cute it was that she brought the baby to work. I shut it down immediately. Told them it was personal and to drop it. But it got worse. That same day, around 3 p.m., the receptionist handed me something. Said my daughter had left it for me. It was a small folder, basically a photo album. Inside were old photos of Maddie and me, mostly from when she was little. Me holding her at the park, her at her first recital, a few from Christmas mornings. She had printed them out, put them in plastic sleeves, and left a note on the front that said, "In case you forgot." I didn't take it home. I left it on my desk until the end of the day, then locked it in a drawer. I haven't contacted her. I haven't opened the album or looked past the first few pages. I'm not interested in nostalgia. That version of her, the little girl in those photos, doesn't exist anymore. And now that all the lies and manipulation have left her alone, she's doing the same thing again, but with me. Well, I'm not playing along. I'm not giving in. With the help of HR, I had her barred from my workplace. Security knows she's not allowed on the premises and that she can't contact me there. My attorney sent her a letter stating that any future direct or indirect contact will be treated as harassment. I told my sister not to contact me again if it's about Maddie. I hope that's enough. Update 4. It's been a little over a year since the last time I saw Maddie in person. That day she showed up at my job with her baby and started telling people I was her dad again, like nothing had ever happened. After that, I made it clear I didn't want anything more to do with her. I updated my security info at work, filed all the necessary paperwork, and moved on. I hadn't heard anything from her directly since. But 2 weeks ago, something else showed up in my mailbox. It was a thick envelope sent by a law firm. Inside were scanned documents, a written statement, and a USB stick. Attached was a cover letter from a private investigator hired by Dennis's eldest son, the same one who'd been trying to untangle the mess Carla left behind after her death and all the lies she and Dennis had built. Turns out, they found a storage unit Carla had rented under her name in another city. Inside were old computers, financial paperwork, loose photos, and a box full of journals. Inside that box were handwritten pages and audio recordings. I didn't listen to the audio, but the written statements were more than enough. Carla had recorded herself venting about everything, the divorce, the custody battle, even her second marriage. Some entries detailed how she manipulated the situation with Maddie during the trial. In one entry, she wrote directly that she was training Maddie to say specific things about me to help get a restraining order granted. She wrote about lying in court, about things I never did, just to gain full control and continue her life with Dennis without interference. She also admitted Dennis wasn't initially okay with all of it, but she slowly manipulated him, turning him against his own family and severing ties with his kids so Maddie could inherit everything. That matched up with what Dennis's son had said during the lawsuit, that Dennis had planned to change his will but never got the chance. Apparently, Carla used guilt, financial control, and threats to keep Dennis compliant and make sure Maddie stayed in the will. And judging by the tone of her journal entries, Carla never seemed the least bit sorry. The investigator asked if I'd be willing to testify or provide a sworn statement for a new trial against Maddie. These materials were to be submitted in an appeal regarding Dennis's estate. I said no. I told them I had nothing more to add, which is true. There's nothing else I can offer. They asked if they could use my prior statement from the first trial. I said yes. I figured that would be the end of it. Then, 5 days ago, I got an email from Maddie. It was the first time she had reached out to me directly in over a year. The message was classic narcissist ramble, long and exhausting. She said she had been shown copies of Carla's journals and recordings. She said she didn't know what to believe anymore, if she truly remembered things the way they happened or if her memories had been manipulated. She claimed she didn't know who her mother really was, or who I really was. She asked if I could meet with her to help her understand the truth. I didn't reply, and I won't. Because here's what I know. I spent years trying to be part of her life. I went through the courts. I was patient. I wrote letters, emails. I showed up to events I wasn't invited to just to support from a distance. Every attempt was blocked, erased, or turned against me. She called me a stranger in court. Told others I was emotionally unstable. When she got married, she let another man walk her down the aisle and said he was the only father she'd ever had. That was the caption under a photo from her wedding. I wasn't even mentioned. She showed up at my office with a baby like that would soften me up. She played the grandpa card, thinking it would earn pity points. Now that the truth about Carla has come out, she wants me to fill in the blanks. But that's not my job anymore. I didn't raise the version of Maddie that exists today. I wasn't allowed to. Carla made sure of that. She has Carla's journals. If she wants to know who her mother really was, read them. If she wants to understand what happened with Dennis's family, they're more than willing to talk. If she wants to know who I am, there are a dozen photo albums from her childhood that can remind her. And if that's not enough, she'll have to make peace with what she doesn't know. I hope Dennis's sons get their inheritance back. They've been fighting for a long time, and even though I don't know them personally, I know they deserve that money a hell of a lot more than my daughter. My daughter isn't just facing a lawsuit over the inheritance. She's also facing one for manipulation to try to take control of it. That second one is a bit more serious, because as I understand it, she could be facing prison time if found guilty. I don't know what'll happen to her child. In the brief contact we had, she never once mentioned a father. Update 5. A lot of people in the comments have asked about the outcomes of the various trials involving my daughter, so I've decided to make one final post to fill in the gaps. I'll also include some details about her child. Dennis's estate was overturned. In the end, the rights of his biological children prevailed. Carla, it turns out, had absolutely nothing to leave to anyone. She was entirely dependent on Dennis, and since she passed away after him, she didn't inherit anything she could pass down to Maddie. I don't know Dennis's kids personally, maybe they didn't deserve his money either. But at least I know one thing for sure, my daughter didn't deserve it at all. What she did deserve were the charges she faced for manipulating Dennis in his final stage of life to try to get him to leave her the bulk of the inheritance. That manipulation, in part, was what pushed Dennis to take his own life. After her mother died, Maddie wanted Dennis to take care of her and her baby. She expected him to basically give her an allowance, money with no responsibilities or effort in return. She even went so far as to threaten him, saying she would tell everyone he was the father of the baby. I don't know if anyone actually knows who the real father is, but I know for a fact it wasn't Dennis. Still, she tried to use that lie to damage his reputation and control him. That, combined with the depression from losing Carla, was what led Dennis to end his own life. Because of that, his sons, alongside a prosecutor, worked to make sure Maddie faced legal consequences. And now she is serving a 5-year prison sentence for the various charges brought against her. As a result, Child Protective Services got involved and took custody of her son. He has since been placed with Carla's family to be raised. That's all I have to share, because I don't even know which prison Maddie was transferred to after her sentencing.